and take advantage of the platforms that the legal system, the legal and financial system in the country gives us to grow our wealth for the future and for the future of our children, and possibly to leave them a legacy that they when we are no longer here, then they can continue life with something that we have put together for them. They titled this discussion Investment 101. And because of that, I'm going to try to get us to take baby steps and explain certain concepts that relates to investment. In this journey, I happen to have the grace of being involved in a number of investment schemes through training, through learning, but also through employment where I was, but also now not only living it there, then practicalizing it with our family money. We're not going to talk to you about something that we don't do, but rather we're going to talk to you about something that we actively do. The platforms that we actively play in to try to grow our family legacy. Now, with investing, it is not a function of how much you have. It is mainly a function of how do you start and when do you start. Other people may say, but investing, Muruti, is more of people with money. But I'd rather want to differ and say investing is for people that wants to make money. It's not for people with money, but it's for people that want to make money. And if you want to make money, it doesn't matter how much you start with. The little that you have will help you to make money. Then in future, others will say, you have money. That is the art of investing. It's not about the millions that you have. It's not about the hundreds of thousands that you have, but it's about the willingness that you have to start. Now, let me put the video off so that I can have the network not disturbed. Now, I'm going to, I hope you can hear me properly, brethren, so that I don't lose anyone. I think I just want to... I'm audible. Thank you very much. I want to, and as I said, I want to start with baby steps. Then we can discuss maybe a little bit of difficult things as we go towards the end. I'm not intending to take long talking. Then rather let's take long trying to deal with scenarios and or answering questions. When it comes to putting money aside, or what we call savings, you need to differentiate between savings and investment. Saving is a form of investment, but it is not regarded as an investment. They differ, the two. And when it comes to investing and saving, maybe in saving there is, but in investing there is not. There is no one size fits all in investments and financial planning. And because of that, you typically would need to have personalized financial planning advice or investment advice so that you avoid falling into generic traps, especially if you, depending on what you want to achieve and depending on how much money you want to put aside. It depends also on what is your long-term financial goals before you decide whether you want to invest or you want to save. You need to check what are your financial goals. Is it long-term or is it short-term? If your financial goals are short-term, then you're talking about savings. You're not talking about investing. And when I talk about short-term, I'm talking about perhaps you want to have money to deposit the car, or you want to have money for holiday, or you want to have money to deposit the house. It is short-termism that will define how much you need, for how long you need to put it aside, and what returns would you want to have. Although savings is not necessarily dependent on investment returns. With savings, short-term goal, it looks at maybe a period of between 3 to 5 years. That is savings. You need to put your money in instruments where you can have easy access of the money and where the risk is low. And with savings, you typically prioritize the safety of your money, because you want to put your money, that's why you manage risk. The risk is low, or you must want to put your money in instruments where the risk is low, because you want to safeguard your money, but at the same time you want to have easy accessibility of the money. Yet in investing is different. The risk in investing versus the risk in saving. In investing, the risk can be high depending on the type of instruments you choose and what your goal is. There are investment platforms or instruments where the risk is low, but there are investment platforms where the risk is high. But as it is said always in investment, the higher the risk, the higher the return. The lower the risk, the lower the return. I'll take a typical example. In a low risk investment is a bond. If you invest in a bond, you are never going to get a 15% investment return per annum. You will get, and with a bond you get a coupon. Your money does not grow, but in fact you got a coupon. And at the end of the period, your capital is paid to you back in full. You would have received your annual coupons, and that is your investment return. Now, typically, because of the long-term nature of investment, you are looking at either general wealth creation, you are looking at retirement, or you could be investing for education. Now, it typically talks a long-term, starting from, I would say, 5 years and above. And when you do that, you're looking at long-term higher growth, and you're looking at wealth creation. However, there are risks that goes with investing. There is no investment that does not have a risk. I've spoken about a low risk. You can think about in saving or investing, putting your money in cash instruments. When you put your money in cash instruments, you run a risk, for instance, that your money can be eaten by inflation, because there is no cash investment that is going to give you a higher return. That typically outperforms inflation by a big margin. And when I'm saying cash as an example, I'm talking about money market. %. Then another equity portfolio. Those that follow the equity market. As an example, last year, 2024, gave a return of between, I think, 28 and 32% investment return. Now, that is a very big investment return. It's the upside, but what is the downside? The downside is that the shares may drop and you might not achieve what you want to achieve. Now you need to, when you start, differentiate between the two. Do you want a saving or do you want an investment? It is said, and this is research, that approximately half of South African working population, most of us are a working population in this platform now. They said approximately half of South African working population does not have a retirement fund.